We're here today with Ramsey Embick, and we're going to do one of our little South Salem conversations. And I think Ellen's going to start with us today.
Well, first of all, Ramsey, great to see you. Great to be with you. Glad you're making.
It's totally the same, man. I'm gassed. It's been too long.
Oh, for sure. I'm looking forward to getting together here before too long. But hey, let's just kind of dive in here because we'd love to hear a little bit about your story. And so we all went through school and so forth. But where'd you go after South? What'd you do after South? Where did you go somewhere, or did you do something afterwards?
Well, what happened was I kind of South didn't seem like such a good idea, and I had been asked by a friend to go play a recital up at the school in Portland, the Metropolitan Learning Center. And I turned around after the concert and grabbed the first adult, and I said, "Well, can I go to school here?" And sure, we'll put you on the list. So I ended up going to, quote, alternative education, free school. And to make a extended story short, that person, he's gone, but he is now my father-in-law. But also he visited my folks, and I so wish I had the gist of this conversation, but he talked my folks into kind of letting me go, moving out, and then they told me, well, if you earn the money, you can go. So yeah, I went to work all that summer, and yeah, actually it was kind of a fun summer. Worked really, really hard, saved a lot of money, and bought a big motorcycle because I earned more money than I thought I would. And with a motorcycle, a lot of rain. I experienced lots of rain. And yeah, I went to that school, and the first day, my now father-in-law, who was basically principal at the school, and one morning he got me an apartment. He showed me where to shop for food. He took me down to Northwest China, which is the NATO brothers.
Sure, absolutely.
And got me a job, part-time job. That's a whole hilarious story in itself. And then he found me a piano to practice, all before noon. Wow. So yeah, that sort of jettisoned me. It sort of just kind of like all this stuff kind of fell off me, and all I had to do was, oh my God, all I have to do is play the piano, and
that's
then
pretty cool. Now, Ramsey,
go make enough money to eat,
Now, were those like, was it actually a school you went to? Was it?
Yeah, it was a regular. It was
program?
At that point, it was a high school, and of course now it's K through 12, and my kids went there all the way through there before they went to Grant. But it's one of the best schools in Oregon. Metropolitan Learning Center, alternative education.
Oh, that's very, very cool. Then what did you do right after that? Did you have other formal education after that, or was it?
Well, yeah, let's exclude some of the stupid details. Well, I came home and told my dad I was going to go to work again and make enough money to buy an electric piano. But he said, well, Rams, why don't we take a trip up to Mount Angel? And I'm going, okay, yeah, let's take a look. So he signed me up at Mount Angel. So I went there for 2 semesters to see if I could get out of the draft, which, no, it didn't work. I couldn't get the good enough grades or enough credits. So I knew that wasn't going to work. So anyway, that lasted only so long. I still have friends from that era. But after that, I got into a band, and we were running around all over Pacific Northwest playing horrible gigs with, shaky musicians and shaky everything. And my dad was watching this. I moved up to Seattle, came back, and my dad was watching some of this, and he's going like, Rams, you know what? Doesn't look like this is going to go away anytime soon. Why don't you pick out a music school and we'll send you there?
Right.
So I ended up going back to Berklee College of Music.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, it was. I think it's more restricted or more,
That's
more
a
of
very
a
selective program. Yeah,
it is. But basically, to describe what happened is for me, because my dad put his confidence in me. I just said, well, you know what? Let's not waste any time here. And I think my second semester, I was required. And this whole time I was in touch with Kent Darnell, who got a degree in music from Willamette,
sure.
And we were comparing notes. And that was wonderful because he was really getting to be a good piano player. And, we were talking all that.
Kent.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kent, I don't know if you've talked to him, but I just would love to visit with him because I haven't heard from him since I went down to California. And he had got a graduate degree from from USC in music.
Oh,
But
wow.
anyway, just to explain what happened for me is that they kind of put me in a speeded up course, you know, because I was a professional musician by that point. I didn't really have any idea what I was doing. But anyway, when the assignment for the semester, the second semester I was there, was you got to write a chart for a large ensemble. Well, I really wanted to play the piano and not write so much. So what I did is I wrote the chart like the first week, you know, and I went down to the basement where they have you know, they got all these guys playing everybody's music, you know, it's like a rehearsal band, and I had them play it, and they, you know, fixed a couple notes, and it sounded, I was like, wow, this sounds really cool, you know, I could maybe do this. Of course, I actually did that. I ended up writing a bunch of charts for a whole lot of people, but anyway, so at the end of the thing, I said, we want to see you next week back here with another one. And I'm going, no. That was the assignment. I'm done, you know. And I'm sitting there twiddling, you know, go back to my little horrible apartment. God, it was horrible. Anyway, I had rented a piano for $15 a month. And so I going, well, I got to practice. I'm practicing. I'm going like, you know what? I have an opportunity to write a chart every week, right? Instead of one. I have a drawer here in my basement. I guess your room looks cooler than mine. It has a dozen charts, a dozen big band charts. So that's what I did, you know, kind of like, you know, it wasn't to make my dad happy. It was like, when my dad put me up to this, I'm not going to be a fool and waste this opportunity. So yeah, I wrote a lot, because as a musician, the thing is yeah, I'm going to be a musician and I'm going to play the piano, and I'm only going to play this style, even though I'm going to get really good at it. That's kind of go nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Or one place, and then like 2 years, what do you do? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you got to do everything you can. You learn how to write music. You learn how to do all kinds of skills, you know, left-hand bass, background singing, you know, reading really well, read for the symphony, read film dates, read recording dates. I mean, you know what I mean? There's all kind of skills. You got to learn every single Stevie Wonder song. I mean, you know, to be a pro, I just realized that it's not one thing. You got to be good at a lot of stuff. So, you know, from that point, I never looked back, you know.
So that's a great exposure. That's amazing. Now, how long were you back there?
I stayed in Boston for 5 years, and kind of like focus on it. I mean, I studied with this guy, Charlie Banakis. I walked into an ensemble, and the gentleman that was running the ensemble was like a little class to teach piano players how to play with bass players and drummers. Anyway, so I walk in, and here's this guy, and I didn't know him, you know. He was, you know, he played with a bunch of people later on, but he had brought a tune. I tell you, I'm going to play this first, and then you guys give it a try, you know, to kind of get the lesson. And he played a song that I knew start to finish, like the solo and everything. And he had it in the wrong key. And I'm going, wow, that's Joe Henderson's key. He said, well, I got this out of the library because I don't know it. So he started playing it, and he actually played it pretty good, but not as well as I would have, because I'd been playing the thing for a couple of years, you know, you know, it was one Bill Evans tune I was nuts about. Anyway, so he starts playing it, and I'm going, my jaw drops on the floor. And I'm going, you have to show me how to do that. And he said, well, call my roommate. So I ended up taking lessons from this guy, Charlie Banakis. And that was really, really helpful. You know, he's sort of like considered the best jazz educator ever. Unfortunately, he's been gone for a little while, but that was really formative. And then the other thing is, you know, I played a lot of R&B in Boston, and I kind of excelled at that. And one of the things that happened, you know, I'm just thinking about this. I ended up doing the graduation recital for Kenny. I don't want to say Kenny Warner, no. But anyway, I ended up doing this graduation for Kenny Mason, because I had kind of risen to the top of the heap in that arena. You know, they said, "Well, call Ramsey for this." So his brother is Harvey Mason. I don't know if nobody knows who that is, but he's the drummer that plays in Foreplay. And the joke about Foreplay is that, you know, they have their own little jazz group and they tour the world, and they're all fabulous. You know, Bob James is the guy that wrote Taxi and
Sure.
and MASH, and the joke is that they all have their own planes. Anyway, so my first gig in LA was with Harvey Mason, who was already, in other words, somehow I had fixed it so that I just was introduced in the top when I got to LA. Of course, that was just like one account. And I don't think I ever even did another gig with Harvey, but you know what I mean? It was sort of like, I thought my way through this. And I think in school, you associate yourself with the people that most closely align with where you want to get. Well, it was sort of like that, but it was kind of, like playing around in Boston, which was a little bit like a fishbowl. And it got real frustrating for me. And I got to move to LA or New York. I ended up in LA and already had a plan before I got there.
And so these people that you met in Boston were sort of a foot in the door in LA?
Yeah. One of the guys that I met played for years. He's kind of like an old friend. He played for years with Journey.
Oh.
He's the drummer with Journey. Of course, I think they just split that relationship up in the last year. But yeah, I know I was talking to Steve. He's going, yeah, man, I have 3 houses. I'm going, shut up. So, we'd meet up on the road and he'd make fun of me. It's, man, you still wearing that hat? Well, does it look like it? I've got it on right now. Yeah, he's a funny guy. Him and, a number of other musicians kind of moved out at the same time. And actually, that hooked me up with one of the more important gigs in my life. It more important than just, okay, you succeeded in getting that gig, but, at this time in my life, I kind of got pushed into starting my own band. And the reason that it became obvious is because, you want to play with the best players you can and have the most fun you can, and then actually make a decent living. But, one of the other responsibilities is leadership. And I'm going, you know what? I was the band leader for a national pop act for more than 4 years. Why would I not share that with the people around me? So that kind of says partly why I'm leading this own little thing that I have. And everybody in town kind of wants to play with Ramsey's band.
That's good. And who are some
well,
of
not everybody, but it's kind of wow, that's a cool band and it's a great place to be because I'm providing what looks like a professional situation, which means, that's like making everybody happy, It's not about giving people orders. It's like, if I make a bid that's too low, I made a bid that was too low for these guys. They said, Rams, go back and tell them it's not enough. We got to get paid 3 times as much if we go out of town. So I doubled the bid and I'm going, this will get me out of it, right? They came back the next day and no problem, we'll pay you double. I'm going, oh God, now I gotta take the gig, yeah.
Well, did you travel a lot?
Yes, 25 countries.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Such as?
Well, one of what's really funny is we did a Southeast tour, and by Southeast I don't mean Southeast Portland or Southeast Salem. No, we went to New Zealand, Australia, and Hong Kong, and Singapore and stuff. And New Zealand was really cool because it was just a very interesting place because it was very, very underdeveloped. At this point it's very different. But it's funny, you get done with the gig and all these guys would be in the bar watching soccer from Europe. It'd be still going,
Right.
And everybody be talking, it'd be like a bar situation, but the tour that we did was the exact places that the Beatles played before they played on the Ed Sullivan Show. So it was like this historical tour of every place the Beatles played, and it wasn't really all these places weren't much, not more than 500 people in each one of these places we played. But I'm going, wow, the Beatles were here. Oh my God.
That's remarkable history for sure.
The Beatles were here and they were here too. It was like, that was kind of every place we played. It was like, well, where did they stand?
Yeah.
It was really kind of like these stinky gymnasiums that sounded horrible, but that was really cool. I was like, wow, I got to play when the Beatles played. No, we didn't play at Shea Stadium.
No Ed Sullivan.
Ed Sullivan was off the TV by the time
Yeah.
But
well, you've worked with some really well-known entertainers, and who are some of the ones that you enjoyed the most?
Well, that tour was with the Pointer Sisters, and I was with them for more than 4 years, and they were lovely. They asked me to be leader in their band, and they included me in all the business stuff. So I knew everything,
Wow.
where we were going, obviously, and the money, and what the crew was going to be like when we got all the details. I was privy to that because I was part of the executive branch. Bands aren't just a bunch of guys getting together and drinking beer and going out on stage and acting like a fool. It's usually a pretty serious organization if it's going to succeed past the first gig. Yeah, they were serious. They had made every mistake you could possibly make in the business. So by the time they hired me, they had solved all of that. They worked everything out, and they were wonderful employers. And the interesting thing about them is they would not have existed if it were not for Bill Graham Presents.
Oh.
And Bill Graham Presents, he used to do stuff like he'd book the Iron Butterfly and then get what's his name, the jazz drummer, to be the opening act. You want to see a drum solo on whatever that goofy so Inagata Davida, and he'd get what's his name, the big band drummer that was huge. Johnny Carson used to love him. I should come up with his name. Anyway, he'd get that guy, and I mean, he would just blow everybody away. They still have tributes to him. I can see his face, but yeah, and he hired the Pointers to do background for every band that needed pickup backgrounds. Like he got him a gig with Eric Clapton, got him the gig with what's his name, fooled around and fell in love. The fella that did the Paul Butterfield Blues Band, but they did a number of acts. So they had been out there doing that. And case in point, I don't know. I saw this concert in Portland when I was about 19, which would make us 70, 71. And the opening act was Taj Mahal, and they walked out. I didn't know it was them until he announced them. I'm looking at these black gals, and I just go like, I'd never seen anything as gorgeous as this. I was just transfixed. Then they opened up their mouths and sang, and it was like, oh my God. They sang Sweet Home Chicago and another tune, and it was unbelievable. And later on, we're just sitting doing nothing in Corpus Christi. We had done this stupid gig where the lights went out, the sound went off, and we were all laughing about how silly the gig was because they're up there doing I'm So Excited with acoustic piano and drums and no mics. They were just totally funny about it. They just took it in stride. And we're hanging out after the gig or the next day or something, and I'm going, I'm from Portland, right? And they go, yeah. I know. You guys know Taj Mahal? Yeah. Oh yeah, we love Taj. Did you guys ever work with Taj? Oh yeah, we love Taj. Well, they look at me going, no. Yeah, I saw you guys, and they said to me that there was the first gig and there was no rehearsal. I made a profanity and just told them to go jump in a lake. Yeah, I'm going like, what? Just go jump in a lake. Yeah, nobody's that mean. Yeah, they were that mean. They were seriously badass.
Yeah.
But yeah, no excuses.
Well, so Ramsey, I think one of the things I would love to hear, gosh, I'm sure you've got more than enough stories for an evening or more. So I look forward to hearing all those as we get back together.
Well, I bet you do too, working for the gig that you got. I bet that's pretty interesting. You're probably all over the place with that.
Well, a little bit, but let's stay on you just for a second here.
Okay.
So what brought you back to Oregon?
Well, I was in LA, and I was married to this gal that sat behind me in Halverson's class, first year at South. That's a longer story. But anyway, she had felt that it was the wise thing to do. There were things about LA that were kind of coming unglued. The music that I was making was really no longer. A lot of guys that were doing what I did went back out on the road. The last 5 years I was in Los Angeles, I did studio work, and that's all I did. It was a bunch of different studios. I was working from one regular place, but basically there was not a need for me to do something, even though I would have wanted to go out and play.
Mhm.
The last 5 years, that's all I did. It was in a closet with a giant tape recorder,
Mhm.
and the music that we were doing kind of just went belly up. It turned into hip hop and rap doesn't really involve musicians, you know. What was left from the folks that I had been working with was Luther Vandross and Whitney Houston, and I think that was actually Jeffrey Osborne's last. And I wished I'd worked with him. I missed working with him by just a couple of months because my boss, the last year that I was in LA, had made his last record, the one with the "Whoa Whoa Whoa" song on it, and he moved on and did records that were self-produced after that.
Wow.
But the vocal R&B stuff that I was actually doing a lot of kind of disappeared. And so, it's kind of like I had been working with Kiss and some other just people that I just didn't want to be working with. And yeah, so anyway, I let her argument prevail. And so we moved back to Oregon, and, I thought Oregon might be fun, but it's a lot of work here, because the gigs, I mean, I do everything I can,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I mean, it's great in that I'm playing live music, but one thing about LA is that live music just dried up. You know, a lot of my friends, they're on the road or twiddling their thumbs or working in studios of their own. They own their own
Mhm.
studios, but
Yeah.
not a lot of them are out. And touring for me is just really unpleasant. There's no place to play the piano, and you got to leave your family, and it's a tough life. I mean,
Yeah.
the Pointer Sisters were lovely. They were my great friends, and they're a great company. But it just, come on, I spent 9 months of the year with these people. I don't have a life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and even working in the studio that I was at, I mean, I didn't have a life. There was a lot of days that were 16 hours a day. You know, and it's like, really, and you have a family as well? Where are they?
Mhm. But you do have a lot of stories.
So
Oh
what do
my
you
God,
think?
yeah.
What do you think of music in Oregon right now?
Well, what music?
Okay, I guess that sums it up.
Yeah,
I've seen you in concert in Oregon several times.
yeah, you did. Yeah. You came out and saw that place. Yeah, I can't even remember if it's there. Yeah, that was fun.
Well, a lot of places aren't there now, but
Well, in Oregon, you have to morph. You change what you do. You know what I mean? I was doing a lot of solo piano, and that was something that I really wanted to do earlier in life, and I don't do any of it now.
mm,
Kind of curiously, it's just I think other people are doing it, or it's not something that people want, or somehow I offended, or hey, how about this? My agent retired.
oh, well,
Yeah, at an agent that retired. No kidding.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the clubs that I used to work out are gone.
yeah.
And Atwater's, I mean, I used to be the regular guy there, for
Mhm.
all their events, and
Yeah.
no more Atwater's. That
Mhm.
went up in smoke a while ago. So things change, and you do other stuff. I'm just happy to have the opportunities that I have. I mean, occupy the space that I'm in. I never would have dreamed that I would have been at the top of an agent's list. I
Mhm.
mean, that's like, really? I'm just a jazz
Mhm.
piano player.
Mhm.
No, I was at the top of my agent's call list. She ran every gig that she got through me first.
Mhm.
And there's been actually a couple of joints that I'm their first call. So
Mhm.
I'm going like, that just at this I mean, come on, man, at this age, everybody knows how old we are. I'm at the top of a joints list. I mean, that's
Mhm.
just nuts. The place that we work at, I walked in there with my new band, and I walked in with the promo, and I said, well, can I leave it with you? And the gal at the bar, sure, Rams, you can leave it. The bosses were having a meeting with staff, and they're busy now. So I'm walking out, and the meeting was right there by the door. And he says, well, what are you doing here? I came to promote my band. Well, give me this stuff. And he says, hold on. And I left the establishment with 3 gigs. And then he called me in the
Nice.
car and gave me 2 more. I'm going, come on, man, I'm pulling over. So yeah, they like us over at Clyde's a lot. It's a great place to be. It's a fun place for us.
Mhm.
And you know, it's you got to have a place that has. I mean, if you want to have a program, you got to have a place. I mean, here in Portland, we don't have a record deal, but you got to have a place that has fealty. You know what I mean? That's loyal, and we're loyal to them. They call me up if they got a problem. You know, they had another band playing over there. They call me up, Rams, the PA's off. We can't get it on. Okay, I'll see you in 10 minutes. You know.
Well, we got to get your calendar out in front of our classmates, because I know lots of people love to see you. And I think, Ramsey, it's easy to say this, but your talent and your passion have created an amazing life. You know, the stories that you've seen and done are remarkable.
Yeah,
So
it's pretty crazy. And it all started in Miss Atwood's class, where we had little talent shows. And I mean, I know you played the piano, so we were competing with these little boogie woogie little talent contests at age 7.
That's right.
Who else was playing, and who else was within that class?
All I know is my boogie woogie did not compare to your boogie.
I'm sure it was really close.
I don't think anybody was counting. It just kept me on my toes, you know. Yeah. What's funny is I still play boogie woogie, you know.
Yeah, those are still great rhythms for sure. Beats.
Yeah.
So I hope to get you to the reunion. It's going to be on September 18th and 19th.
Oh, that might be easier. Yeah, always the reunions are on Saturdays, and I'm always working. The only one that I was able to make it to, and I really loved it, was the one where we did all 3 high schools in one.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was almost like the first year that I got back. And so I had no gigs. So of course I was there. You know, it was great to see all my old friends, you know, folks from McNary and, you know, all that. Yeah, it was really cool.
Well, I think it's not quite formalized, but I'll just mention here, since hopefully some other people will see this as well, is that Gilgamesh, which is a very nice venue in Salem, owned by Iraqi. That'll be a Saturday afternoon, like from 4 to 8 or something like that. And there'll be
okay.
details on the website. And then on Sunday, there's going to be an event out at Willamette Valley Vineyards. So
Okay.
both of those are worth pointing towards, but I encourage people to go to southsalem70.com,
Yeah.
salem70.com, and you can just register. That doesn't sign up for the event itself, but then you get all the information about what's going on and so forth.
Yeah. No, the Sunday I'm sure I'd be in, because you know, the Sunday gigs are far and few between. Nowadays anyway. I used to play a lot of solo piano on Sundays, you know, Mother's Day and New Year's Day and Christmas Eve. I mean, I used to do those gigs, you know, along with whatever else I did. Yeah, Kiss.
Yeah. Well, looking
or
forward.
What was it?
I feel like we've
somebody tribute. There was a tribute thing that I did not long, like a long time ago, but it was She's an American Girl. That guy, he's our age before he died. Yeah, you know, rock and roll guy. That was that was really fun. Tribute. A lot easier than I thought, but not somebody that I knew a huge amount about. I'm working on a record with these guys right now. They have no mind to release it, but the idea is the Traveling Wilburys. You know, that's the model for the mix. They've got their own songs and they're their own way, but that's my mix model. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm you know, taking lessons out of those guys' tool book. And you know, my friend calls me up and says, Ramsey, you should do really what you do well. And my friend used to work with Shalimar and you know, Solar Records and stuff. He's, well, you know, you're really good at that. You know, you should do it. You did really well. And what's that? Country music? No, it's not. It's rock and roll.
Country music.
Yeah, it's not country music.
Well, maybe you can move in that direction.
No, we're not moving in that direction. You know, the folks that I know in that whole thing are the nicest people I've ever met. But I'm not made for country music.
Just not
even though I really enjoy some of it. And I love Irish music. Don't want to play it. But yeah, no.
But you'll be a fan.
Yeah, I'll be a fan.
We're a fan of you, Ramsey. So thank you so much for joining us. And hopefully we'll see you in September.
Oh, that'd be great. And Ramsey,
you play the song.
I don't
See you
play
in
that
September.
song.